Did we disappear for a while?
No,
people?
we're on again.
I just put us back on.
Okay.
But I'm showing 0 viewers.
Yeah, because they're probably stuck in the old one, not knowing what's going on.
Well.
Oh, there you are. They're coming in now.
Okay. They're used to this with me, and that could be just something that's happening here on my end.
What happened? Don't know.
We don't know. I still don't see. I don't see anybody. I still don't see anybody.
Yeah, I do. They're coming in now.
Okay. All right.
We have no idea what happened.
We're sorry. Apparently the ancient
buffering.
Apparently the ancient Chinese and the Egyptians didn't want to be spoken about, so we'll leave them alone. But I will tell you that
we're buffering. We're not moving.
We're not moving?
No.
We are. I got somebody now. I've got one.
Yeah.
I'm here. Jamie G is here.
But I'm watching the feed, and we're not moving. We're stuck. We're buffering.
We're buffering. I don't see buffering on my end. Got 2
Okay.
more in. Hello again. So they are finding us again.
This is weird.
Yeah, it is. Maybe dowsing doesn't want to be spoken about. What a bummer. No, I'm getting them in. Ronnie Y, who's always here. Tech difficulties. Yes, they saw the tech difficulties. It says that there are multiple lives in your... Oh.
Yes. This is the 3rd live that's going...
Out of my channel?
Yes.
Oh, crap. Yeah. Well, we're going to go with the one we're in.
Okay.
You know how they say you live parallel lives? We're living parallel lives.
We're living it.
I ended the stream, guys. I really did. Prince Charming. I'm here. Okay. We're just going to go with who's here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
One time I had to start and stop 4 times, and then I finally went over to Zoom and did it from there. Anyway, it was an ancient art, and it was something that was done by the knowledgeable classes. And actually, it was done by priests in the Catholic Church. And so when Martin Luther decided to break away from the Catholic Church, he called dowsing occultism, and that's when it got pushed together with witchcraft.
Yes. Well, isn't it that the truth? Once you come up with the right answer, when you know that, then they get afraid of you because they can't hide anything from you. Therefore, they have to make it bad, wrong, or indifferent, and that's what they do.
Well, so yes, that is, and they got all mixed up with us. Popularity of this peaked in the 19th and 20th century, which is kind of when you said you were going around helping farmers in Kansas.
Yes.
Very, very, very popular thing to do. It can be as simple as what you said, cutting fork stick off of a green tree. And they say after you use it for that, you have to break the stick so it's not used again because it's for that time. Who knew?
Oh yeah, I never did that. I just put it back into the on the ground so that it would be foliage for whatever. But I never used another one because I knew that it had to be green.
Okay.
So.
And pendulums. There's pendulums, there's rods. Have you ever done the rod where it's out on a straight stick and there's a weight on the end and the weight goes down? Not like yours that go together.
No, I have not.
It's just it's called a rod. It's like a fishing rod and it goes out and fishes.
I've seen what you're talking about.
Okay.
I think I know it. Yep.
And you have dowsing the rods and pendulums, the swinging pendulums, which this is one I've had for 40 years. You can see we have them. And they're real.
A lot of people have a lot of myths about the pendulums.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of negative feedback do you get about pendulums? And I'll go over what I get.
People think you're drawing in energy. You don't know where it's coming. They kind of like Ouija board it. Like you're getting.
Yeah, I don't usually have anybody calling it devil's work. However, I have them calling it fake.
Oh yes. Or you're moving it, and what I used to do at my table at times 10 is I'd hand them the pendulum, and I go hold your hand still. Now we'll ask your question again, and when they're holding their hand stock still and it starts swinging, that's when they freak out.
True. Yes. And that was the one thing is they think that that whoever is doing it is manipulating it. Whoever is doing it and I always say this is, well, there is a preparation that you're going to need. Preparation is removing your ego from the whole situation. And
Right.
when you do this metaphysical work, that's the first thing you do anyway. Is you move your ego out of the way, and your ego is not the worst thing in your life. It's just not necessary for this work. It's just not necessary. So once we learn that, like, okay, anything that I do, okay, remove my ego out of the way, where I am not manipulating any outcome whatsoever. I have to rely on what spirit tells me, no matter what comes through, and then have faith for it. I've always said, it's like, I believe in what I do. If it's like the pendulum is 100% correct, I'm the one interpreting it wrong.
Right.
That's the truth. Just like with my cards are always 100% correct. I'm the one that's interpreting them incorrectly if or I didn't see it, or something has gone, I'm not getting that information. But I always rely on the tools, because I've given my tools permission to be absolutely 100% correct.
Well, I always warn people, if you're asking me questions, make sure you really want to know the answer.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, and you get the answer, and sometimes that's the problem, is you'll tell them this is what's going on, and they go, oh, no, that's not what it is.
Oh yeah, I get, like, that's not how it happened. That's not what it's going to be. Oh.
Okay, fine.
All right. You know what I mean?
What can I say? Oh, yeah. We've got quite a few people back.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. Maybe you can, what do you do when people call you fake? How do you handle that?
I just tell them it's like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. So if they may see as fake, someone else would see as totally real. And if they think it's delusional, I can't do anything that, because the delusion's in their mind. I will tell you this. If I have read people who are seriously psycho. I mean, I knew them well enough to know they'd show up at parties, and I knew this person's nuts. And you will, in the cards, will reflect their delusions. So, am I reading what's fake, which I know what they're believing is like wrong, or in my estimation is wrong. But if I read it that way, I have to read it the way I see it, and I just don't have any other choice. I found years ago, when I would try to temper my readings to sort of spare someone something, it would just make things worse. And when you're talking about the ego having to get out of the way when we're divining things, in the garden when I had my visions, in the areas where I was in a building, when I typed all of the descriptions up, I began to realize before I finished it all, that the buildings, the artifices, were our ego. And when you go into this, you have to understand there's a large component of ego involved with this part of the garden, and then you have to get out into the air and the water and the light. And you will always end up being led to air, water, and light. And in the way that, at least the visions I had of the garden, and working with another person who's getting visions from the garden, that's what she sees too, is that you always need to get out to the air, the water, the light, and feel grounded, and then you'll be fine. I also think part of what you talked about letting your ego go from things, I think our ego remembers things more than we do when we're not in an egoistic state. And when people come back to me 3 weeks later and said, remember when you told me this? And I'll look at them like, No. It's because we're in a different state of mind. So.
Well, I said that message was for you and for you only. I do not retain it.
No, it's your message.
Yeah, I am just a vessel. The water just runs right through me. I do not retain that memory of the message for you. In fact, I'll go back and watch some of my videos, and I'm like, I don't even remember saying that.
I know.
And it is literally, spirit talking through me. And I even will go back and watch some of my videos just so that I can hear what spirit has to say, because I'm like, I don't remember it.
Right, you don't. And people are like, oh, and so it's really, when you're in that state, it's kind of hard to explain to people. Now, my kids have been grown up with it, and they've grown up with me, and they kind of know when I'm in a mode, the non-mom mode, mom is the real person to them. The non-mom, it's not that you're not a real person, it's just I'm not focused on that role.
Yeah.
You know, and so, guys, we're doing our best and trying to have things work out the way that we see them, or we know them. It's not so much see or sense or otherwise. You just know it. It's like
This is
something
true.
you know as well as you know your name.
So here's the thing is somebody, you go up to somebody who has been highly educated.
Mm-hmm.
Degree here, a degree there, graduate here, graduate there. I'm working on my this and that, right? They're just so highly educated. They can tout off to you any information, like what do you want to know about this? What do you want to know about that? What do you want to know about that? And I used to be envious of those people who like had this huge amount of information in their head. They
Mm-hmm.
just rattle it off, and they're just so good. And I realized that it's like the education removed their spirit side.
Mm-hmm.
If that thing makes any sense. It's like self-knowledge avails us nothing. It is
Mm-hmm.
when we are tapped into spirit is when the truth and the information that we really, really need or want, or somebody else is needing or wanting, actually comes through. I can tell you a textbook, a diagnosis of your personality any time of the day. I have a degree in criminal behavior. However, it doesn't help one bit in this realm when I am tapping into spirit. Not a one. It's
And
almost like a misstep. I try to get educational because I
Mhm.
have it, and then I miss it. The people do not connect with me whatsoever. And so I don't know how to explain it any differently. It's like, I don't care how much, like, if you're highly educational,
Mhm.
I want to hear from spirit.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean?
I read for some business people, and they want to know what spirit people are entering into their businesses with, because they can come in with all the high flown degrees and, oh, this is going to work this way and this is going to work that way. They want to know who's at the kernel of all this. When I worked in politics, that's my sin in this life that I'm going to atone for till the end of time. But I ran good candidates, but it's a weird world to be in. And I was talking to a woman attorney, and I was helping her do something, and I said, no, it's this way. And she goes, explain to me why. And I couldn't explain it to her, and she goes, well, we live in the world of facts, and we have to have, and I said, I'm not gun trial here. I'm just telling you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so after a while, she learned to just say, is that facts or is that you? And I said, facts are leading up to it, but the end conclusion is me. The thing that goes beyond the edge of the factual knowledge is me. And she respects that totally. But it's just a weird world to live in.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain it better. It's not like I'm downgrading you, like anybody that's highly educated. There's an incredible amount of value to that too. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying, when we're working in this realm, it's a difficult matchup.
Yes. And if your mom's a psychologist, there's that whole school of Jungian psychology, which he delved very heavily into the archetypes, the tarot, using energetic movement, all that stuff. And I think it's very well respected by some people. There's a lot of, but they got to understand, Sheila's much younger than me. Like, she wasn't even born when I went to college, but
No, I'm not saying, so GGB says you don't lose it. I'm not talking about losing your education. That's what I was trying to really, really make sure that, so that's not true. My mother was a psychologist and a teacher and very psychic. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking that they lose the education. It's just when you, something went weird. When you mesh that up,
mm-hmm.
that's where the difficulty of being within spirit. Can you help me out with it?
Yeah, my
State,
youngest brother is a native healer. He really is, and that's what he should have been doing. He went and got a medical degree, and he retired at 51 because where his spirit wanted to go and where the profession was were two different places, and he couldn't
Yeah.
live with it anymore. It was making him nuts.
And I can be a psychologist, but I'm not being a spirit. I'm not being a psychic. I can be a psychic, but I can't be a psychologist. In the same realm is what I think I'm trying to say. It's like I can diagnose you anytime you want me to, with my education.
Right.
But if you want a message from spirit, I have to let that go.
Right. I have a master's in accounting and computer science. Needless to say, that's just incredibly well used in my business now. But that doesn't, I mean, I can look at a computer problem, but I'm not going to see it from the same realm as when I deal with the stones and the crystals and the other things. That's why I don't try not to do that anymore. God, some of this is so tiny. My old eyes. Hogarth is amazing.
Everybody's like, I see spirits walking through Sheila. Like, no, it's
said
my.
PM was cute and okay.
I'm burning this.
Yes, that's not orbs. She's doing that.
It's almost done.
Let's see. I'm gonna go back up here. You talk to them, Sheila. Vamp for a second.
So I was just reading a few things in the chat. That's what I didn't want to do is a misstep. I've been trying to explain it. I come from a very highly educated family and very psychic. You can live in both realms. I have cousins that live on the reservation, medicine women, and are very gifted psychics. Gosh, I'm not trying to. I understand that portion. I'm trying to describe something that I'm missing the information.
Okay, I'll tell you. I've got an explanation. I ran into a woman. My hair was purple. This was after I'd purpled my hair, and we were at a political rally against Cornyn, which, if you live in Texas, that's sort of something you do. Almost you could do it every day, but there are days when they do it more. And this woman was there, and she had beautiful white hair, just gorgeous. But when she turned her back, she had stripes of primary colors down the back of her head. So it's sort of like serious in the front, party in the back. And she was a therapist. And she and I got to talking, and we met on more points than we wouldn't have. I mean, the woman was absolutely charming. And I told her, periodically I send people to you because what they need to work with, they need someone long term. And as a psychic, I don't do therapy. I can say to people, but if you ever have a reading with me, I'll say what's going on around you for the next 3 months. That ought to be a hint that once every 3 months is often enough. Unless you're on a specified project, it is. But so I totally recognize what they do and how they can do it and how they can help you with things I don't have tools to do. So, in the hospital, yeah, and I have a friend whose sister's extremely psychic, and no one sees her in the medical practice she's in, but she's there to help the people that walk in the door that need her kind of. The doctors will come and say, "This is what I'm seeing. It's out of alignment." Maybe all their tests don't show what it is. Well, she can help with that. So. And I'm not saying professionals are professionals who don't recognize it. My physician is my regular person I report to. She's a physician's assistant, but she's been a keto expert for 18 years. I didn't go to her because I didn't even know that. The universe led me to her. And so she's like, yeah, you're doing fine. And she totally understands my biochemistry because I am doing keto and low carb. But when we thought I had a heart attack right after Easter, and they sent me in for all the tests and everything came back clean, she said, what were you doing right before that happened? And then she understood energetically how my body had gotten out of alignment. And Kim and I are going to talk about this a little bit tomorrow about the crystallization of your DNA. But anyway, it's a long story. Make a long story short, she said, I have several psychics in my practice. We were all drawn to her. We were all sent to her. And she said, the way your body functions is different. And you are as a group, you're aging backwards. And she said, something's happening inside of you. And what happened to me was a stressful situation of going between dimensions. So I'm just saying that there's people in all levels doing all sorts of things.
I agree.
Somebody grew up on a farm. Somebody grew up on a
Yeah,
reservation.
they're carrying on some really good conversations about that. I'm not denying the fact that highly educated people can be psychics. That's not what I was trying to say. I was kind of trying to say that spirit has another avenue than education.
You don't have to have the books. And what we're trying to say, like, if you think you'd like to know about dowsing, go find the dowsing book. Go look it up online. I found some, really good long articles. You could figure out how to douse from that. Can you do you have a feeling, Sheila, about what kind of energy we're touching into when we douse?
Yeah, the energy that I'm for the first thing is when I am touching my rods and getting into this stuff, I am in the Akashic records. I've known this for a very, very long time. I'm in the Akashic records. I tap into any of that information, but I am also very, very grounded to the earth. So
Mm-hmm.
I have, they're like meeting in the middle for me.
Mm-hmm.
They're like meeting in the middle. I energetically, I know the question to ask, and I know that the earth is giving me those answers.
Mm-hmm.
And the spirit kind of meets me in the middle right there. That was the thing is I don't know how to explain it. I never cracked not one book to know how to do my pendulum. Not one book.
No.
Not one teaching. I picked it up and went, oh, I wonder what this does.
Yeah.
And I asked a question.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched somebody else do it. I'm like, oh, all right, so I'm doing it. But I didn't crack a book.
Mm-hmm.
And that is either bad habits or whatever it is. I don't know. That's been my experience.
That's past life knowing. I showed Sheila this earlier, but I always throw stones on the garden before we have our thing. Get it over here. And this shows our mind is coming out of the past life. So we're ending up discussing that mental energy coming out of our past life. I think that's interesting. And it also shows that spirit wants us to understand this. It's coming through the crown chakra. So it's really combining those things. And I think we're doing a good job of kind of communicating, because people say to me, well, what's pushing it? Well, there's energy around us all the time. Sheila and I were doing the little thing where you rub your hands together and you start to build an energy ball out and you keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you spend the time really focusing on that, in a couple minutes you'll have a ball the size of a basketball and you can crash it over your head and give yourself your energy back. But it's around us all the time. And some people see it.
Oh, well, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, go.
What I was trying to say the most is, I think anybody can pick up a tool and energetically know how to use it.
Yeah. And
there is people who love to look up books and read them and kind of get into that like that. That was not useful for me. So,
well, that's why
there's both sides.
That's why I put this series together, because I'm trying to bring in all the different disciplines I know people use and all the different ideas that trigger off in my world all the time. Because, I've been looking at this stuff since I was 12. And, it's such a universe out there for all of us. We've looked at, in the last, we've looked at palms, we've looked at I Ching, we've looked at Akashic records, and now we're just looking kind of at pure energy forces that people can feel around them. And some of them are like a yes-no on a life situation, okay? Rory Duff, who's the guy who's the geobiologist that's figuring out all the ley lines in the world, he followed, by using dowsing rods, he followed a trail that took him back to a Templar chapel in southern Spain that had all of the sacred geometry in the ceiling. What's this? He's going, what? You know, so, and to me, all the things roll back on each other and they all affirm each other. They help you understand it. Something may speak more clearly to you than other things. So,
Right, and it could be just a learning situation with me. I am more hands-on. If you want me to learn to cook, I have to be in the kitchen with you and doing that.
mm-hmm.
I would very rarely sit down and read a recipe. I don't read recipes. I don't
Mm-hmm.
cook with recipes. It's an intuition feeling and this, that, and the other, and pour a little bit of this. I mean, when you're baking, you kind of have to be more specific. But I even go. Oh,
I
that looks good.
freelance
You know what I
baking
mean?
too. Yeah, I freelance baking a little bit too.
And
I'm in the
I
process.
don't know if that's just me. I don't know if somebody could sit down and read a whole book and then know what to do and energetically mesh with that. I don't know.
I'll tell you
That's
what
not been
happens
my
with
experience.
me with reading books. I'll read a book on a subject that I'm just curious about, one, especially about stones, especially about crystals. I read lots and lots of books about crystals. But I'll start to read a book and I'll go, this is BS. And I'll just put it down. I mean, it does not relate to me. The first books I read on gridding, they made no sense. And finally, I kind of knew what grids were supposed to do from what I'd been told verbally in Denver. So I built a grid and it worked.
Yeah.
And then I started building grids. All the grids I build, I use a woman to help focus the energy. I use her forms from the sacred geometry. But as far as knowing, when I start to build a grid, I look at the colors, I look at the form, and then when I read later what all those stones are really supposed to mean in there, it's like I'm like, God, I'm better than I thought. But it's not me. It's spirit coming through. You will learn to trust that part of yourself as spirit. I happen to be a
Right.
book person, though. I like words.
Right. And I am not. And um, dyslexia really keeps somebody. I can read and all that good stuff, but it really is a difficult process. I can listen to an audio book. I can
Mm-hmm.
listen to things really, really well, and kind of the information that kind of comes in that way. But for me to sit down and like study a book, um, it wasn't something that I was able to do easily.
Question. If energy change in the community, a city can cause people to dislike people from a different culture and religion. Um, if a core comes in, if a core of people come in and they start poisoning other people with that energy, like draws like, they'll draw in a core group around them. It's like I was listening to someone today talking about, there's a journalist in one of the places where they had almost riots at the school board about vaccinations. They went back and took a lot of pictures and ID'd who the people were there, and most of the people in that crowd didn't have kids. And the people who had kids aren't crazy enough to go into a crowd full of screaming people and bring that back to their kids. So I'll tell you what I think about cults and groups and people bringing in. You get yourself clean, and the good, clean people will come around you.
Oh yeah, water seeks its own level.
Yeah. Energetically,
Absolutely.
every pendulum that swings, every dowsing rod that moves, everything, that's all energy saying we're around you all the time. What you put out in that energy is what you're going to find.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Seriously. Um, I you're a reader who's dyslexic. I know so many readers that I really like who are dyslexic, and I won't name them because some have outed themselves and some haven't, and I understand it's, something you were taught to be ashamed of. My oldest son has serious ADHD problems and didn't learn to read till he was 16. He learned to read in Guam when he went to, they put him in English as a second language, and he learned to read phonetically, and the school system he'd been before didn't teach that, and he went from being functionally illiterate to being ready for college in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So there's 23 kinds of ways to decode the English language to learn to read it. And the way we teach tends to create the learning disabilities that we have. But now it's 72. If I can get it in an audiobook, guys, it's in my phone.
Yeah, that's what I do. I mean, I love listening, especially I love driving and listening to audiobooks. It seems so much more impactful for me to listen to it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I'll get out a book too and read it and look at things and stuff like that. It's not like I never do. It's just that that's not my first go to learn something. Like if somebody was talking about dowsing and stuff like that, I'm like, I already know how to do that,
Yeah, but I like
and I
to.
would get bored.
Yeah, it's like when I went looking for stuff for this show, like I've done it for all the shows. I go and I try to find some core literature just so that if there's a question
Yes.
that I haven't seen answered, I can answer it. But and quite honestly, I didn't run into anything that wasn't there. But if someone wants more guidance, then Sheila and I aren't allowed to ask. I want them to be able to find that lady's book if they want to look at it. I know a variety of topics as well.
Yeah, Terry, it's not an easy thing to deal with.
No.
And it's not connected to intelligence. That was the one thing that once I got it, and as an adult, I separated it. I'm like, this has nothing to do with my intelligence. This is mechanical stuff that is going on with my own body that I had no control over. But my learning and my education is still very full force and very available. And I had to separate that because what school loved to do is to connect it. And it was awful. It was
Mm-hmm.
awful. Like a teacher can give me an audio test, and I'll tell you all the things. You give
Mm-hmm.
me a written test, and
You're doomed for if it's a time test.
you know
That's
how many times I got the answer wrong just because I misspelled it? I used to
mm-hmm.
get so angry.
Somebody wanted to know why do I think more if I have a position on why I think dyslexics are more prevalent in our community. It's because as children you had to adapt. So
Yes.
you're when at that point when you're 5 or 6 and you kind of have to. Apparently, our souls choose or not choose to hold on to some of our gifts, or they'll emerge later. I
Yeah.
think you guys had to hold on to it. My son that has it is incredibly psychic and incredibly sensitive and intuitive to things. He doesn't always let himself feel it because he it's just not he's not that point yet. But he never lost his ability to see. Neither did my daughter and my youngest son. He doesn't see it in the world you and I do. He doesn't see it in cards and stones and stuff. But when he watches when a computer program's glitched, he can go through the computer program and he said where it's broken glows. And he learned
That's
to not point out to is that like a thing that was put in here? He learned because he's been hacking into computers since he was
yeah.
14. He learned how to do that, and that's how he works.
Yeah, and that was the thing too, is that you're right, absolutely right. I had to adapt. And you see, I'm already, at 5 years old in kindergarten and in first grade, I'm already being labeled. I'm already being
Mm-hmm.
tailored. I'm already being, it's like I have this bright young little child coming into school, and like it's all of a sudden I have a mechanical problem, and I'm being shoved back to the back, back to the back, and back to the back. And here I am. It's like a teacher doesn't, back then teachers are doing phenomenal jobs nowadays because for dyslexia. I'm watching that, so they're really understanding it. But back in the day, a teacher knew how to teach one way, and if you can't learn that one way, then you are labeled and shifted and switched to another thing, and that was troublesome for children like me.
Mm-hmm.
Very troublesome. It was like being indoctrinated into a culture where if you do not do it this way, you're not worthy. You're not this, you're not that. And it was something that I had to overcome, so I had to adapt. I don't want to be at the back of the line. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to adapt. I had to adapt on how to figure out how to be with the other people. It's like I learned all of these other skills to make it look like I'm like you.
Yep.
And they came from the spirit realm. I guarantee you that.
And you're sitting beside on the screen someone who could read at the age of 3, like read newspapers.
Yeah.
And so I really, for my friends who had problems with that, we used to try to help them cover, and figure a way around it. But like I said, I'm now at a point in my life where if I don't got to read it in ink and paper, man, I'm just as happy. But and there's so much more to spirit, and I hope people are seeing so much more of the spirit that's in children. I hope anyone who's around a small child understands these are just incredible star children, because the world we're handing them is going to need all the help it can get to get better.
Right.
My 7-year-old granddaughter wants to either be an astronaut, doctor, or an engineer. And she said, Grandma, I just can't figure out where I could best use my skills, but I know there's going to be a whole lot of work that needs to be done. I don't think at 7 I was telling my parents the world was falling apart. I can guarantee you that.
Oh.
So.
No, I did not have any metaphysical conversations with my parents. I guarantee you that.
Mm-hmm.
There was none of that going on in my home.
Let's see.
The most thing that came out of my mouth when I was a child was, was it me?
Yeah. How many kids are in your family?
I'm 6 out of 7.
See, I'm 3 out of 5, and I thought that was a crowd.
Yeah, 6 out of 7, and I was the literal forgotten child. So I did more of it wasn't me.
Yeah. Them up there, the ones tall enough to reach it. Look at them first.
Exactly. It's like it wasn't me. It wasn't me. So,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah. So pendulum work. I think anybody should go. This is one of the things I have learned about pendulums. Here's how I pick one out.
Mm-hmm.
If I am at a metaphysical fair or something along that line, there's a whole bunch of
Mm-hmm.
pendulums that are hanging around. And I usually can go up to a pendulum and I'll put my hand up underneath all the pendulums that are hanging out. And I ask the pendulum, who wants to work with me?
Mm-hmm.
And I put my hand up underneath them all, right? Underneath them all. Whichever pendulum moves,
Mm-hmm.
that's the one I get. And it will work. Just go try it. You'll see that the energy will move that. I've had some that just absolutely do not want to work with me. And of course, I'm okay with it. But I always ask the stone. I treat my all of my tools, my dowsing rods and my pendulums, like they are energetically alive.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. They're energetically alive. They are my storm people. They are my pendulum people. They are my dowsing rod people. I treat everything with dignity and respect. And I ask permission to use them. I ask permission or ask them if they were willing to work with me. And that keeps it sacred, in my opinion. I also do that even with my cards. Do you want to work with me? There has been somebody, they have handed me cards, or I've even bought cards, and I'm like, these are not mine.
I know. I have a few decks like that may find their way as a giveaway.
I can't force them. Yeah,
You can't make them.
I can't force them to work with me. There was one story about that with a pendulum. I found I think it was in Utah. I found one of those Indian arrow heads.
Right.
And I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I get to have because I found it. I actually put some tobacco down at the place that I found it and gave thanks that I could find this. And I took it back and I had it all made into, in fact, I have it right over there. I had it made into a pendulum and everything, and it wouldn't work with me. And I go, oh. And finally I went to somebody in the Native American culture, and I was like, I found this arrowhead, and I can't get it to work with me as a pendulum. And that person just looked at me and she said, Sheila, that arrowhead already had a purpose. It had prayers, it had a purpose, and you can't change the purpose in that prayer that was put into that arrowhead, because Native Americans make things and put their prayers and their intentions into them. I cannot switch that arrowhead to do something else other than what it was made for. And it dawned on me, oh, that's the reason why this pendulum is not going to do anything other than this arrowhead is not going to be anything but an arrowhead.
Right, because it had to chip it and to get it that perfect, to be able to use that, would take a lot of forming. Someone asked here that she bought a pendulum that was rose quartz, and because she liked the energy of rose quartz, but it doesn't seem to work.
Yeah.
And I've had rose quartz. I know it's a really pretty stone. It's also a stone to me that is very general, warm, and round. I mean, that's kind of the energy I get off rose quartz. The two I have is This was actually crafted for me by a person who dealt with crystals and stones, and it's got all the chakra colors in it, and she built it specifically for me 40 years ago. But I also just picked this up in a store in Austin called Nature's Wonders, and that's some Merkaba in the form of a pendulum. But I could take what I am wearing as my necklace.
Yes, you can do anything. I agree.
You can use anything. I mean, this has the tree of life on the end of it,
Yep.
and I can guarantee you it probably pretty much would swing. So, you know, if it absolutely doesn't move for you, then obviously that's not the one for you.
That's
Maybe
not the one for you. That's all. It's not
you
like
should
there's
gift
anything
it to
wrong with
someone.
the stone. It's just not for you.
Right, and you could gift it to someone or keep it because it's pretty. I got a whole lot of pretty stuff hanging back there.
Yeah.
They wouldn't all work, but
Yeah.
you know, pretty is also important in our life.
Absolutely. And there's another thing. Once I do find a stone that'll work with me, and I bring it home. There's a few other things is where I want to put my intentions in there, and I want to let that pendulum knows that we will be working together, and we will be working with spirit, and then either sage or put it out in the sun. I've done all of them. I've either saged them. I've sat with prayer and meditation with them. I have them in my hand. I do like this. And I put them in my hand with prayer and meditation, and I just pray, bring it to me and stuff like that. Or I put them out in the sun, and then put my prayer and intentions into them. Whichever way makes you feel better about your tool, do it. I always say that it's like you don't have to follow the exact recipe here. This is a recipe tailored to you and what you are going to be working with.
That's somebody saying she's held on to her tools till they revealed how they were supposed to work with her, which is good if you do that.
Oh yeah, that is a brilliant way of. I love that.
You know, and you can sage it too. The other thing is to sage it, spray it with Florida water, which is a really lovely scent, and you just put that in a misty bottle. That will do for holy water. My source of holy water I can't get anymore because they can't get to Wisconsin to get it.
Rose water. I've done it in rose water. And,
right.
Yeah.
And bells. You can ring a bell. You can ring a chiming bowl.
Yeah, and Lori from A Way of Positive Change, she uses bells.
Mm-hmm.
She has a bell that it goes over all of her stuff, and she does bells. Yeah, and bells really work with her. I've never used a bell, but I noticed that it works with her really well.
Yeah, it whatever energy you feel secure with, and you've been told to go there. I know people have asked me, I can't leave my house, I don't want to go somewhere. Where can I find a person who might be more energetically attuned? It's not just someone throwing stuff together.
Right.
Trudy's Treasures on Etsy. That's Trudy Lee, the reader from Bulverde, and she makes some beautiful pendulums.
Well, there you go.
So and I imagine if they come out of her shop, I like Trudy. I mean, I realize we're in the same state, but we've never really met. We've talked. Yes, I love rose quartz. It's loving and warm.
Yeah, but not every stone it wants to work with you.
But I couldn't use this for a pendulum.
Gosh no. Gosh. But there's just all of these things that we can use, and I always just pick them up. Don't be afraid of them. See if it fits with you.
Yeah.
See if what it feels like.
I love it if you can go to a place where they're hanging and you put your hands under it. That's how I found the crystal Merkaba, because I was at Nature's Treasure and it was there. And it's out of genuine crystal. Someone carved it out of ice calcite.
I don't buy every stone that says it's willing to work with me. Let's let you know. Sometimes I just do it just for fun. Just to go up there and just see which one. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it.
And whatever you're in the mood for.
Right.
Somebody's enjoying our conversation, isn't that? It's not just
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And how is it in Texas today? It's incredibly hot and steamy because it rained last night. And so it's 90 some degrees out, but it feels like 115.
You know, I had a house in Corpus Cove
Mm-hmm.
back when, right before my husband passed. He actually, we married and he had a house down there.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he passed, I had a house down there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I remember going down there, and it was in maybe July. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
was July, June or July. And I remember going down there, and at midnight we would leave to go back to the hotel after renovating it and all of that. And in my car, it said it was 100 degrees at midnight. And I'm like, this is not it. This is not where I want to be.
No, no, it
I think,
has.
how in the heck do you guys live down here at 100 at midnight? There's no sun in sight.
Well, someone's carrying a small piece of tourmaline, which is one of the that can make an interesting pendulum, and it's also a very good vampire slayer. It keeps negative energy away from you.
I believe that you can find any stone, any rock. If you're hiking, find a rock,
Mm-hmm.
and you can ask if it wants to work with you, and absolutely go home and make it into a pendulum. It's not
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's not rocket. It's not rocket science to make a pendulum. Is what I'm trying to say. I guess you can. I prefer that you make it out of stronger material, so when you do hang it, it doesn't break on you. But
Mm-hmm. And if stones break or stones go away, they just need to be not part of your universe anymore. I lose stones all
get
the
wore
time.
out.
I lose stones all the time, and I thought I'd lost my heart-shaped bumblebee jasper, and I looked all over. My daughter came in the office. We looked all over. We came back the next day. It was back. So I don't know where it went. I don't know why I want to go there, but you just learn to put up with
I
that.
have all of that back there. I don't. It's hard to see, but all of those are the stones. Either you have given me, other people have given me.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are big ones. I have a big one. It's hard to see them, but there's a big crystal. There's all of them.
But periodically I go around in here and I straighten everything up. Not that you'd know it if you looked around here today, but I clean all the stones off and rearrange them in my. I have a big glass case full of stones, and I rearrange them because I'll pull them out for examples to teach people.
Yep.
Do you buy your stones and crystals?
I love, my favorite way of buying or looking for is to go out and source them myself. That I know that they're ethically sourced, but that's just
Mm-hmm.
my own way of doing it. If you have a supplier that you know that your stones are being ethically sourced,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that they're not just being raping and pillaging the earth for them,
Mm-hmm.
that they are being ethically sourced, meaning also you're not taking a whole bunch and leaving a void in the world for
Mm-hmm.
that. I like going out and doing my own so that I know that I am leaving some tobacco, some
Right.
gratitude, something in its return. Those are my favorite ways of doing it. But so
Right.
that
Right now it's hard to
ethically
get some
sourced.
stones because they're a lot of the countries. My rutilated quartz all came out of Brazilian mines, and nobody has mined there for over a year because of COVID. So I got the last 300 rutilated ones in the U.S.
Woo. Yes, salt water can also salt water if you wanted to use a little salt water. Salt water is a
Check your Mohs factor. Make sure it's higher than a 6 if you're going to put it in water. Period.
purifier. Yeah. Salt. I've noticed, and somebody can probably correct me. They may know more than I do about salt, but somebody had told me a long time ago these things that kind of stick in my mind. That salt was something from the ocean. It's that emotional clearance. So if you have salt
Mm-hmm.
sprayers, you go around your house, you can clear out a bad energy. You
Mm-hmm.
can clear out an emotion that you've had. You can put it on your hand and it's just like salt water, just like not a whole bunch, but you put a little salt on your
Mm-hmm.
hands and you can put it on your face if you're having a bad day. Not, how do I put this? It's like
Not like the ocean. Not like the ocean. Just a
yeah,
little
not
bit
like
of
the
salt.
ocean, just like a pinch of salt in some water, and where you can't even really taste it, but you can really just
Mm-hmm.
you can put it on if you're having a bad day. It's just like a purifier. It's like an earthly emotional generator, to where you can help you work through things, and if you're blocked. You know, sometimes people are just energetic and emotionally blocked, and salt water also helps with that.
Yep. Crystals are fun things. So
Yeah. Thank you,
Gigi, we don't offend. She said she didn't mean to offend you and she's talking about her family.
Oh
I mean,
gosh, no,
everybody's
honey. No,
family
no,
is
no. You're not
different.
offending me.
And you're standing up for your family, and that's important
Exactly.
too. Because your mom sounds like a cool person if she took her spiritual along with her book learning.
Yeah. And I was trying to explain it like differently, but it wasn't coming out correctly either. So, I understand why she was saying that. So I was not offended whatsoever, not at all. And this is the place to have those honest conversations.
Well, that's what we want to know. We want to help you understand and give you a forum to mention what you understand so that we all have an input here. I mean, that's really important in the garden because, trust me, the whole thing about the garden is a learning exercise for all of us.
Salt is I know black salt absorbs pain and negativity, because that's what the people who do spirits, where they clear out the houses, they use the black salt. And what they do is they pour it around and let that absorb it, and then they
sweep it up and get it going.
Yeah. But there's so many different ways. You know what I mean? It is what that tool is, what you want it to be, then that's what you know. I wouldn't mix up a whole bunch of rocks, because you'll just have emotional chaos if you're just throwing crystals in any which way you have to kind of.
It's called crystal chaos. When I first went on, I did a show about crystal chaos, and this woman said, she wrote me and she said, I thought that was kind of strange, but she and her husband had collected all the stones and pretty things they collect. They put them in a big bowl in their bedroom, and they weren't sleeping well at night. And she looked at her husband and said, I just heard this, so I'm going to take this and put it in the living room. And she said they slept well for the first time in a long time. He goes, what the hell was that? And she goes, crystal chaos, I guess. I mean, who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, you can't, yeah.
Yeah, Amy Allen.
It's like having crystals for love, and then you have crystals over here to get rid of bad energy, and the love and the crystals, and they're like, whoa, what are we doing tonight?
Yeah. And what if the love...
Who's up front?
Yeah, I mean, love of what? And how are we getting along with all this?
Yeah, Amy Allen from the Black... Yeah, she uses
black salt.
Black salt. She's really good. I love her.
I love her. I love that show because I hate the ghost hunting where they just go find a ghost and say,
me too.
Oh, it's here. And you're like, well, what the F do I do now?
Yeah, I like Amy Allen too. And I watch that show a lot. All right. Is there any other questions that you have about pendulums or dowsing rods? Now, dowsing rods work the same way as a pendulum.
Yeah. Yeah, show what you do with dowsing rods.
So, right here. So, what I do is I keep it right here. Take my energy, my body, keep my arms down, because they're just not going to do very well energetically. So it's like I put them here, and I would normally, walk or anything like that, and you can ask them questions. Did Matt Gates get married? Did Matt Gates get married? Did Matt Gates get married? Yes. Stuff like that. I have a feeling that Matt Gates got married because he's a control freak, and what he doesn't want to do when they indict his little butt, he doesn't want to lose his girlfriend, so he had to marry her.
Everybody's like, no one came to the wedding. Her sister had already written a major piece on what an idiot he is.
I know.
I mean, this is not a family you want at the wedding.
No, this was all Matt Gates' manipulation.
Where can you buy good dowsing rods?
I got these off of either Etsy or
Google.
Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some people don't like Amazon. I understand it. I don't want to get into the wrong or rights of Amazon, but Amazon really works for me on a lot of things. You can get them through there. Once I got my dowsing rods, I just literally just hang on to them. I just hung on to them all day long. Just hung on to them. You know
Till
what I
they
mean?
became part of you.
Yeah, it came out of part of me. And I think I put rose water on them when I first got them as well, because I really like
Yeah,
the
you
rose
do.
water.
When you bring something in your house to work with,
Yeah.
we sage all the gardens and stuff before we pack them up. But I always warn people. They go, well, should I can just lay it out and read with it? You can, but I'd still sage it because no telling who was touching that tube between when you send it off, and to be ethical.
Yep. I don't think that they're made from, these are copper.
Yes.
I highly recommend copper. It has a better ability to utilize the energy. You can use any wire that you want. Some people, they have a clothing wire or hanging clothing rack things. What are they called? Clothes wires?
Yeah.
Hanging
Coat
clothes
hangers.
wire?
Coat hangers.
Yeah, coat hangers. They pull it and they put it and they bent it and they do their own too. I mean, that works.
You can go
too.
get a branch on a tree. I mean,
Yep.
like
A
we were
Y
saying.
branch. It has to be like a Y branch where you have two and a Y branch, like a pointy Y branch.
Terry, you're a
It has
braver
to be
person than me. I
green.
wouldn't sleep with two pieces of wire. My cat would knock them around and wake me up.
So yeah, just create a relationship with all of your tools, and that's the one thing that we come through. It's like, I'm not here to manipulate my tools. I'm here to work with them, and they're here to work with me.
I have a question for your rods.
Yes.
You need to get them up because otherwise they won't.
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay. Is the vision I've had about Lindsey Graham going to come through in the next 3 months?
Is the vision that Nancy has had about Lindsey Graham going to come in the next 3 months? I say no.
No, I think he escaped it. Okay, that's good. It was not a good vision.
Well, in the next 3 months may have been, so let's ask just, is it going to happen?
Okay, yeah, okay. See if it's going to
So
happen.
is the vision that Nancy Jean had about Lindsey Graham going to happen? Is it going to happen?
Okay, I'll talk to you about it later.
Yeah. It's still saying no, so maybe it's that vision.
It's not a bad, I mean, that's a good thing that it's a no.
Okay.
It's just one that troubled me when I saw it.
Well, dream interpretation is something I've dove into quite a long time as well. But there's a lot, sometimes the dreams, and you've probably known this, the dreams don't always mean like exact.
No, they're not at all, usually.
Yeah.
Now, this is something I saw a year and a half ago on the internet. I was going through and I saw a statement about Lindsey Graham, and I started looking at it, and I couldn't find something to acknowledge it. And that's happened to me before. I've seen something that was like a news headline, and then it would happen to people, and it was not a good news headline. So, but
yeah. Says poor Enjoy Life. She goes, Sheila, energy is so much better when you're not talking about politics. I agree. I should not put politics on Nancy's channel. Sorry.
Yeah, I never do politics, but that's a question I know I have a clear image of. Dowsing rods are used on Kindred Spirit shows to find an ancient Indian portal on the home in Florida. That they can be used for that. There are actually psychics I know in this area that use different dowsing type techniques to look for bodies when the cadaver. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You can use pendulums. You can use dowsing rods for anything. Where are my keys? You know what I mean? Am I gonna find my keys? Or you walk around the house and with your dowsing rods, and when they cross you, there's your keys.
Can you answer what question for Letitia, because I've answered it for her before with the garden. She interviewed for a job on 8/19. Will she get it?
Letitia interviewed for a job on 8/19. Will she get it? When Letitia interviewed for a job, will she get it? I'm saying no.
Yeah, because see, what I saw was
job for you.
Yeah, what I saw was it was going to come through later, but not right now. It's like fall. Not as fast as Letitia wants it.
Will Letitia get a job that is soon? Will Letitia get a new job soon? Will Letitia get a new job soon? You're gonna get a new job
Yeah.
soon.
See, I see it in the fall, but I don't see it as immediately as what she's been interviewing for. And Libra
You're going
ladies,
to get one.
yes, the energy crosses in front of you as a yes, and when they go whoop, that's a no, and that's kind of for everybody. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it was different.
And Jeffrey from Ripe Color says, yes, please. She goes, yes. He goes, yes, absolutely. So I'll give you his
Okay,
phone,
fine.
his phone
Go
number.
ahead.
It's probably easier to contact him.
Yeah, let's not say it on the show today because. Well, political readings, I will tell you honestly, political readings have a place. And I'm going to be back on Sheila's show in the next week or so. I don't know when exactly. We have to get a hold of Sean, my ex business partner. He's not an
Yeah, it
ex
has to
partner
be sometime in September. I'm pretty booked.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about dark money.
Yeah.
And the other thing we have is we have a friend who works at the Brennan Center where they work on on the whole political realignment. And they're fighting all of these crazy ass state laws. We're trying to see if we can get him to come on and talk about gerrymandering and how they use the numbers. So
yeah,
he'd be really good for that. And yeah, well, I try to use politics in a solution-based situation. I don't do the politics of people. As close as you'll ever come is what I asked about Graham. But just because it bothered me. Now I'll sleep well at night and I won't have to worry about Lindsay. Not that I ever did.
right.
Okay. Somebody used their dowsing rods to find the water line to her house.
Yep, that's exactly. Yep.
So, well, kiddos, I promised Sheila I wouldn't keep her all day, and I'm good. This time we're really gonna end the stream, but we got 96 viewers, which is pretty good. Bathrobe Tarot. Oh, yay!
Hi, my Danny.
Hi, Danny.
Aren't you supposed to be? Oh, aren't you supposed to be on a video with Linda G?
Sometime. I think he's taping it sometime today.
Oh wait, maybe he just posted. Or maybe they videotaped it instead, not live. I remember saying that, not live.
Okay, 93 people here.
That
oh, that's right.
Hilarious.
93 people here and only 14 likes. Get your fingers over there.
Come on, like it.
Like it. Like it. Thank you for the session. Tomorrow I will be on with medium Kim Copeland, and we'll be talking about crystallization of DNA as a theory and the ascension theory. So that ought to really wake the audience up. And then I've got, I want to thank Joy. This lovely lady sent me this lovely gift of some food supplements you can actually use when you're on keto, which was sweet of her. And she also sent me an antique peridot, which she said she was cleaning things up and just thought I needed it. Well, maybe I do. Thank you for that. And the other thing is, while I was doing all the stuff and getting ready, I found out YouTube and I were in a slight war with each other, and they had buried all my comments where I couldn't see them. So I went back last week and found 6 months worth of comments. I'd like get 2 or 3 a day, and then I wouldn't see anything else. And I thought, people just don't love me. Well, I found out y'all did. So I went back through and I copied them off, and I've written them all out. And so Wednesday is going to be my lost questions. I wasn't ignoring you.
I learned something with YouTube that if you're not a subscriber, it seems like your question or something like that gets put down, or it doesn't show up right away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I've noticed that, like, I would get a whole bunch of them, and then I'd go back. I was like, I thought I liked that already. And there was like a whole bunch of them like placed in there randomly.
Well, Anyway, I'm going to be catching up with my Lost Questions diary. There was questions in there from Linda G to me. I mean, this is how, that was a name I would have remembered.
Wow.
Yeah, she liked my blouse I was wearing that day.
Aw.
Yeah, Danny had the same thing happen to him where his questions got lost. And as soon as I started querying them about it, all of a sudden I got I jumped 40 members and subscribers. So I think somehow or another they were,
They do recycle. They do recycle. It's like I never worry anymore. Like when
I don't
when I go
I
get
don't
my
really look at the numbers. I just went like, "Oh, well that went up too." So apparently
yeah.
it straightened it out, but I want to thank everyone who supported me. I've since December I've had 10,000 hours of people watching me. So I'm just that was an exciting number I saw. And yeah, and so we're just moving right along. Actually, there's a rumor that Danny Shea's going to come on my show and this in this format and talk about shamanism, but it's only a rumor since he hasn't gotten back to me. Person in chat, notice. And
Rumors.
rumors.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He is. He's wonderful and very generous with his time. So I'm not griping you out, but I am. Anyway,
Come on, Danny.
I'm going to finally, for real, end this stream. I don't know what happened. I hope all of you who wandered away came back. And I will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Adjust to your own time zone. I'm not that clever. And I will see y'all then. And thank you so, so much, Sheila, for spending this time with us because that's
Oh, you're welcome.
a unique and wonderful set of insights.